Welcome everybody. Today we'll continue talking about the SAAT TAJMEE3AT revision course. And today we'll answer one of the very important topics in which we will go through the TAJMEE3AT questions that came in the previous exams for the ecology, biodiversity, and animal behavior. So let's get started. Question number 1. Scientific study of all the interrelationships between organisms and their environment is A, ecology, B, earth science, C, chemistry, D, physics. Yes, as you mentioned, yes, exactly. The correct answer here is A, which is ecology. The ecology, as you know, the study of the interactions among living things and between living things and the surrounding. And the person that is studying the nature is called the ecologists. So the ecologists study nature on different levels, from the local to the global scale. Question number 2. What is an abiotic factor in a forest tree? A, butterfly eating its leaves, wind blowing between its leaves, C, a bird building its nest on a branch, D, fungus growing on the roots. Yes, of course, the correct answer is B. And as you know, all of the ecosystems are made up of living and non-living components. These parts are called biotic and abiotic factors. If we want to classify or differentiate between the biotic and abiotic, we can take it a little bit deep and say that the biotic factors are living things such as plants, animals, fungi, and bacteria. They're living components, while the abiotic means not. Okay, means not. So abiotic factors are the non-living things, such like the wind, such like the temperature, such like the moisture, such like the rock, such like water, okay, such like sunlight, okay, such like soil. In an ecosystem, all of those are considered abiotic factors. So biotic and abiotic factors work together in a complex, okay, web, okay. So biotic and abiotic makes the ecosystems. Okay. Question number 3. A group of goats in the same place and in the same circumstances is called A, population, B, biological community, C, ecosystem, D, biome. Yes, for sure. The correct answer is A, which is population. This is exactly the exact definition of the word population. And if I take it a little bit, okay, deep in order to differentiate between the different levels of organization, I'm gonna say that first of all, we are starting by the smallest basic unit, which is the organism. So the basic unit is the organism. An organism is an individual living thing, one individual living thing. So a group of individual living things of the same species that live together in particular area, okay, at the same time, this is the population. Yes, a group of the same species that lives in one area, and different species that live in particular area together makes a biological community. Community is a group of different species that live together in one area, and different communities, they will make the ecosystem. An ecosystem includes all of the organisms as well as the abiotic factors simply that we just mentioned. Yeah, the climate, the soil, the water, the rocks, temperature, and all of the other non-living or abiotic, okay, factors in an area. So an entire ecosystem may live within a single decaying log, okay, but the log may be part of a larger, okay, ecosystem, such as a forest, for example. Yes, we have even something larger, which is the biome. The biome is a major regional or global community of organisms. Yes. A biome is usually defined by the climate and by the plant communities that live in such area. This is the biome. And we have biosphere, which is much larger as well. Question number 4. What can you remove so that the figure would be a population? By the way, 2 things can be removed, but one of them didn't come in the option, so we will not pick it. Okay. A, water. B, sunlight. C, goats. D, food. The correct answer is C, goat. Why? Let's extend our explanation and know why. Yeah. Listen here. He said would be a population. Population is made up of group of living organisms of the same species. So if you remove the goats, what will be the remaining? Will be remaining A, yes, a group of cows of the same species that live together in particular area at the same time. Yes, and the food and water, they are, yes, abiotic factor. So those cows are making a population. So we can start here talking about by the way, if he said if he said cows, it could be a conflict, but he didn't say that in the options. So we picked C, which is goats. Yes. Food. Yes. Question number 5. Which of the following contains the least amount of living organisms? Okay. Yeah, exactly. What are the least amount of living organisms? A, population. B, biological communities. The C, ecosystem. D, biome. Of course, he said amongst those options. Okay, he said amongst this option. So of course, the correct answer here is A, which is population. Let's extend the explanation a little bit and say why it is A. Yeah, he said the least amount of living organisms. You know, here we have population, community, ecosystem, and biome. They are arranged, by the way, from the smaller to the larger and bigger. Population is a group of living organisms of the same species that live together in one particular area at the same time. Community, different groups of, yes, species that live together in one area at the same time. Communities will make ecosystems. An ecosystem includes all of organisms as well as the abiotic factors. Then different ecosystems makes biome. So the basic here in those options is population. Then community, then ecosystem, then biome. Question number 6, which of the following contains all the other levels of organization? A, population. B, biological community. C, ecosystem. D, organism. This is the exact opposite of the previous question. Here he is asking about yes, exactly, asking about the most or the higher level of organization. And of course, in those options, the highest level of organization is considered the ecosystem. Yes. Why? Because let's start from the smallest to the much more general. So the basic here is the organism. Okay, if we arrange them, a group of organisms makes population. Different populations makes community. Okay, many communities are found in the ecosystem if we add to the community the abiotic factors. Yes, communities are biotic factors. If we add to them the abiotic factors, they're gonna make the ecosystem. Yes. Question number 7, which of the following is the most complex? So he needs the most complex, okay, the higher level of organization. A, population. B, biological community. C, ecosystem. D, organism. So arrange them from from the smallest to the largest, and then you're gonna find it. And of course, yeah, that's correct. It is the ecosystem, which is C. Yeah, So let's arrange them. We're gonna start by organism, okay, which is one individual living thing. A group of organisms make population, okay. Different population will make a biological community. Communities, if we add to them the abiotic factor, they will make the ecosystems. Yes. Question number 8, a group of ecosystems that share the same climate. So here it is a second level of organization after the ecosystem. And of course it is, yes, it is C, or the biome. Perfect. So it is C, answer is C, and it is biome. Yes. The biome is a major regional or global community of organisms, okay, characterized and defined by, yes, its climate and its plant communities that live in there. Everything that lives on Earth, okay, and every place where this living thing is considered part of the biosphere. Biosphere is much more larger because biosphere has everything else, okay, that has a living things that can live, okay. The biosphere includes, yes, all of the living and non-living parts of the earth, of all the earth's ecosystems, okay. The living parts of the biosphere, they are considered the biota. So the whole is the biosphere, yeah, or the organisms and the land, air, water. So all of the earth's system. And as you know before, we mentioned that earth systems are 4. Earth systems are 4. Number 1, we have hydrosphere, and the hydrosphere has anything that related to the water and where the water is. We have whatever this is, lake, pond, a river, an ocean, sea, or whatever. So here we have geosphere. Okay, so this is the land above or even this under the soil. Okay, after the hydrosphere, we have atmosphere. That is the air that is blanketing the planet Earth. And then we have the, yes, the biosphere. Biosphere, it is much more generalized, okay, Earth system, and it may contain all parts from the hydrosphere, geosphere, and atmosphere, where the living organisms live or reside. Example, here, a very, very easy example. Here is the soil, and here we have a plant that have leaves, and okay, so this plant takes minerals from the soil, and its roots extended in the soil, and there is water, there is, yeah. So where is the roots grow? They are grown in the geosphere, and also takes water, which the water is part of hydrosphere. And the leaves are taken or exchanging the gases, which are, yes, takes in carbon dioxide, for example, in the photosynthesis, and releases oxygen, which are parts of atmosphere. And the plant itself is considered biota. All of them together are considered biosphere. Why? Because they are the places from the different Earth system at which the living organism reside. It's found there, okay? And this is the interaction between both of them. It didn't come, but just to know. Question number 9. A relationship that occurs when more than one organism uses a resource at the same time. What will happen between those living organisms? Yes, of course, they will start to compete. Yes, they will start to compete. So it is B, competition. What is the meaning of competition? Competition occurs when 2 organisms fight for the same limited resources. This is the exact definition of competition. Yes. So the members of different species may compete for the same limited resources. Okay. yeah, so the competition will be provided or raised or found. Yeah. Question number 10, a symbiotic relationship between organisms that benefit from each other. So both organisms benefited, so it is win-win relationship. So this is the, yes, exactly, A, predation, B, mutualism, C, commensalism, D, parasitism. Of course, this is the exact definition of mutualism, which is an interaction in which both organism benefits. Okay, if we extend the explanation in order to let you aware about all of the different parts or examples of symbiosis, I'm going to start even from the symbiosis. Symbiosis is a close ecological relationship between two or more organisms of different species. There are, yeah, three major types of the symbiosis: mutualism or win-win relationship, commensalism, win nothing, okay, and parasitism, win-lose relationship. The mutualism or benefit exchange, one organism benefited and the other is benefited as well, so they are exchanging the benefits. Commensalism is a symbiotic relationship in which one organism benefited and the other organism neither benefited nor harmed, so it is win nothing. Parasitism is a relationship in which one of the species benefiting on harming the other organism. The species that gets harmed is called the host, okay, and the one that gets benefit is known as the parasite, and the relation between them is known as the host parasite relationship, yes, which is parasitism. Question number 11, the relationship between bees and flowers is considered A, mutualism, B, commensalism, C, parasitism, D, competition. Of course, this relationship is benefit exchange, so it is mutualism, both of them benefiting each other. Yeah, mutualism is an interaction in which both organisms benefit. Bees collecting pollen or nectar from the flower, and in that process, they pollinate in the flower. In this case, both species benefit. Yes. Question number 12, the relationship between clownfish and sea anemones, an example of A, commensalism, B, parasitism, C, competition, D, mutualism. Yes, of course. Correct answer is A, commensalism. Yeah. And what is commensalism again? Commensalism is a relationship in which one organism benefits and the other organism neither benefited nor harmed. And here the organism that will benefit is the clownfish, and the organism that neither benefited nor harmed is the sea anemone. Clownfish takes the sea anemone as shelter, okay, and in return, the sea anemone is neither benefited nor harmed. I know it is debatable in some cases, but in this perspective, it is a commensalism symbiosis. Question number 13, a relationship in which one organism benefits and other organisms is neither helped nor harmed. This is the exact definition, the literal definition of, yes, exactly, commensalism. Exactly. So the correct answer is commensalism. Yeah, it's a relationship in which one organism benefits and the other organism neither benefits nor harmed. Yes, exactly. You're right. Question number 14. When a bird lays its eggs in another bird's nest and abandons the eggs, the host bird incubates and feeds the young birds. This is an example of A, predation, B, mutualism, C, commensalism, D, parasitism. It is a clear example of the parasitism in which the one that lay its eggs is considered in another nest considered the parasite, and the other one that will give the young's rise for it will be the host. Yes, of course. So it is parasitism, which is a relationship, symbiotic relationship, in which one species benefits and the other is harmed. Species that gets harmed is known as the host, and the species that benefits is called a parasite. Question number 15. Biological control in the introduction is the introduction of living organism to an environment to eliminate pests, This relationship can be, yes, either A, parasitism or mutualism, B, symbiosis or mutualism, C, parasitism or predation, D, predation or symbiosis. Yes, exactly. The two relationships that we can make use of them in order to introduce a species, in order to, yes, to kill or to eliminate another species, is either a parasitism or even predation. Okay, the one that we will introduce may be a parasite, okay, that can infect it, or it may be a predator, a natural predator. Yes, exactly. So correct answer is C. And as you can see here, the ladybug is a natural predator for the aphids. Aphids are, yes, yeah, they are pests that are injecting the person-sucking mouth parts in the phloem. So they are sucking the product of photosynthesis. So they are affecting our yield, okay, and can harming our crops. So that instead of making using a chemical pesticides, we can use biological pest control and introduce a natural predators. And the relationship here is predation, because this is a natural predator, will feed on it, and ladybug will not affect our crop. So we are benefiting, okay, and we get rid of it without using chemicals or chemical pesticides. Question number 16. What term correctly describes the role of bees in collecting pollen? A, niche, B, predator, C, parasite, D, habitat. While the bees are collecting the nectar, okay, what is the correct term that describes the role of the bees now? Of course, it's the niche. And as I told before, that habitat is where the living organism lives, but niche, how they living. Now they are, yes, they are collecting the pollen. So we can describe it as, yes, exactly, ecological niche. Yeah, let's explain it a little bit. Yeah, we have habitat. Habitat is where the living organism lives. Okay, as you know, each organism, okay, interacts with its environment in a different way. The fish, for example, use different parts of this, okay, habitat resources, okay, than the duck, for example. But now we can talk about the niche or ecological niche, the part of an organism that a species use to survive and reproduce. This is the exact definition of the ecological niche. So again, niche includes all of the physical, the chemical, the biological factors that this species uses from the, yes, exactly, from the environment. Okay, so again, a habitat is a question of where the living species lives, and niche is a question of how the living organism or the species live within its habitat. And it may include the food and the non-living conditions, and also the behavior of this species or this organism in its normal habitat to obtain its food or to live in its environment. So this is the definition of the niche, how the living organism live in its environment, while habitat only where they are living. Question number 17. Organisms that make energy and nutrients available for all other organisms. A, autotroph, B, decomposer, C, omnivorous or omnivores, D, detritivore. And the correct answer, of course, is A, which is autotroph. And as you know from before, that autotroph, auto means self, okay? The word auto means self, troph means feeding. So self-feeding, they are producers. The producers, they are organisms that can make their own food by themselves. Okay, plants are considered, okay, producers because they are photosynthesizing organisms and can make their own food by themselves. So we can name the autotrophs producers, okay? An autotroph is an example of the of producers. Decomposers, they are part of the Detritivore that are breaking down the dead and organic matter into okay, basic units, and they return them back to the soil. Omnivorous, omni mean both, vor means eater, so omnivorous, they feed on both meat and plant. Detritivore are the living organisms that feed on the dead organic matter. Not all of them will be able to return it back to the environment, okay, but others can, such like the decomposers, which is an example of the detritivore. This is the definition of the detritivore. Question number 18. Which of the following organisms is an ecosystem play a big role in the life cycle, as it is provide nutrients to all other organisms? Is it A, autotroph, B, decomposers, C, omnivores, D, detritivores? Of course, the living organisms that play a very important role and consider and provide the basis for an ecosystem's energy is, yes, exactly, the autotrophs, which are considered producers. Yes, they can make their own food by themselves, making use of the sunlight. Yes, such like plants, they are autotrophs and they are producers. Question number 19. An example of omnivores is A, giraffe, B, lion, C, bear, D, cat. What is the example of the omnivore? Omni means eating both plants and animals. Of course, it is the correct answer is C. Yeah, and if you are in doubt, get it out. Giraffe eating plants, lion eating meat. Giraffe eating plants, so it is herbivorous. Lion eating meat, so it is carnivorous. Okay, cat eating, okay, meat, so it is carnivorous. Okay, bear can eat both, yes, plant or animals. Of course, not all of the beasts, but generally they can. Okay, some of them are carnivorous, by the way. Okay, but the great majority are here omnivorous. Yeah, so not to be tricked. Yes, and even if I extend it a little bit to differentiate all of them, okay, from scratch, I'm gonna say that herbivore are organisms that eat only plants, carnivores, organisms that eat only animals, omnivores, organisms that eat both plants and animals. Most humans are omnivore. Raccoon is omnivore. Bear is omnivore. Yes. Detritivore are organisms that eat dead organic matter. Okay. Earthworm, for example, is considered detritivore. And by the way, it is a decomposer. Why? Because it can make it available. It can make the nutrients available to the, yes, to the soil again. Okay, it is cycling or completing the food cycle. So the decomposers play a very important role. What are the decomposers? They are detritivores that break down the dead organic decaying matter and of the plant and animals for sure into, yes, simpler components, basic units, okay, and they are making them available again for the soil in order to be absorbed and to used by the producers again. Example, some of the bacteria are decomposers, some of fungi are decomposers. Decomposers generally, they return the nutrients and making them available to the ecosystem again. So they are very, very important. Question number 20, organisms that feed on dead organisms and biological wastes are called A, predators, B, autotroph, C, omnivores, D, decomposers. Yeah, of course, it's very, very obvious. It is D, the decomposers. They are detritivores that break down plants and animals matter into simple, okay, compounds. The main function of it, they are returning back the nutrients and making them available and free in the ecosystem to be used by another autotrophs in order to build new biological molecules. Question number 21. A simple model representing the energy flow in an ecosystem. Simple. A, biomass. B, ecological pyramids. C, food web. D, food chain. Mentioned simple. Yeah, the simple form is exactly the food chain. So the correct answer is D. Yeah, let's take it a little bit further. As I just mentioned, a food chain is a simple way of represent the flow of energy within, by the food chain. Starting by producers. Then we have primary consumer. Then secondary consumer. We may have tertiary, we may have quaternary, and the last one will be, of course, the top carnivore. Yes, of course, the food chain shows the feeding relationships, okay, for a single chain of producers and consumers. The interconnected food chains will make the food web. Yes, it didn't come in the example, just to know in order to be properly understanding, just in case. Question number 22, a series of events that are regularly repeated in the same order. A, pyramid. B, chain. C, cycle. D, biological equation. It is the exact definition of the cycle. Yes, exactly. The correct answer is C, cycle. What the meaning of cycle? Cycle, or the biogeochemical cycle, or matter cycle. It is the movement of particular chemical through living and non-living parts of the ecosystem. We have mainly, okay, 4 biological cycles. We have more than this, by the way, such like oxygen cycle, such like carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, phosphorus cycle. All of those are considered examples. Yes, carbon, okay, hydrologic, okay, I'm sorry, here is the nitrogen cycle, here, oxygen cycle, here, carbon here. Hydrological cycle is the water cycle simply, and the phosphorus. Question number 23, carbon and oxygen are involved in 2 main biological processes. These are, what are the 2 cycles or the 2 processes? A, coal formation and photosynthesis. B, fuel combustion and deforestation. C, photosynthesis and respiration. D, death and decomposition. What are the 2 processes that both of them involved? And exactly, the correct answer is C, which is the photosynthesis and respiration. Perfect. Yes, the carbon will be used in the process of photosynthesis to build up biological molecules such like glucose, and the glucose will be ignited in the respiration process in order to release carbon dioxide plus energy plus water. Yeah, so they are both of them involved in those 2 main biological processes. Question number 24. Highest concentration of nitrogen is in A, animals. B, atmosphere. C, bacteria. D, plants. Of course, the greatest portion of the nitrogen in the atmosphere, 78%. Exactly. It is in the atmosphere. Yes, it is found in the atmosphere. The greatest portion and concentration of the of nitrogen. Question number 25. A term that describes establishment of community in an area of exposed rock. So the key word here, it was not inhabited before. So what is the correct answer? A, primary succession. B, secondary succession. C, alternation of generations. D, succession's endpoint. What is the exact definition here? He said was exposed rock, exposed. So it was not inhabited before. So exactly as we mentioned, it is primary succession. Yes. Let's extend the explanation and talk about the ecological succession generally in order to understand properly. The ecological succession is a sequence of change that recreates, okay, a damaged community or creating a new community. Creating new in the primary succession, recreating in case of the secondary succession. Very simple, okay? So the primary succession is the development of an ecosystem in an area that was not inhabited before, such like the bare rock here in this case. This type of succession might begin on, cooled lava after a volcano eruption, or it might be begin on bare rock. Yes, that exposed when a glacier melt, for example. And the first living organisms that move into the area that was not inhabited before, it is the definition of pioneer species, important as well. And the secondary succession is the recreation or regrowth of a damaged ecosystem, damaged. So there were before an ecosystem in an area that still has a healthy soil intact. Okay, it was a system before. So this may occur after small events such like a tree falling, or maybe a larger event such like a hurricane or a forest fire or a thunderstorm or a tornado, earthquake, something like this. Okay, question number 26. Bioneer species are the living organisms that inhabit the first organism that move to an ecosystem that was not inhabited before, or an area that was not inhabited before. So the first thing, mostly they are mosses and fungi, yes, that are transferring, and they will be later making the soil in that particular area, by the way. Yes, binary species only in the primary succession, not in the secondary, because there is soil intact as well. But in the primary succession, no soil, and it takes a lot of time in comparison to the secondary succession to forming and generating a soil. Yes. Question number 26. An area in a forest with little change in the composition of species. Little change. Yes. So this is the exact definition of A, primary succession, B, secondary succession, C, tundra, D, climax community. It is the climax community, perfect, which is D. Why? Actually, the climax community is when a community of plants or animal and fungi in which they, or through the process of ecological succession that we just mentioned, okay, in the development of the vegetation in a specific area over time, they will reach the steady state. This steady state is referred to it as climatic climax community, or the climax community, okay, or there's a little change. Why? It is already steady, or it is a steady state, or climatic climax state, the maximum. So there is no more adding or taken out from the community. Yes, exactly. It's the definition of climax community or climatic climax community. Question number 27. After a forest fire, which of the following organisms do you expect to start secondary succession? Here, there is a secondary succession. Okay. A, fungi, B, plants, C, worms, D, rabbits. That will start the primary succession. I'm sorry, secondary here. A place at which there is a soil intact. In the secondary succession, there is soil. So the first organism that will start to appear, yes, of course, the plants. The plants. Yeah, firstly, that will be plants. Yeah. Fungi is one of the Bioneer species. Okay, rabbits will not come without vegetation, even worms as well. So even firstly plants, yes, then the rest of the living organisms will come after the food is being made by a autotroph such like plants. So plant first. Okay, and if say primary succession will not be plant, but most likely will be fungi, okay, or mosses, okay, and firstly, and most of the cases is mosses, yeah, because they are producers equivalent to the plants in the secondary succession. Yeah, the definition of the secondary succession is the regrowth, okay, of the damaged ecosystem in an area that had still healthy soil intact. There is soil there, okay, and as I mentioned, may occur after a small event such like tree falling, or even a large catastrophic event such like hurricane, tornado, okay, earthquakes, and so on, forest fire. Okay. Question number 28. Where are Bioneer species probably present? the pioneer species, where they are probably present. He didn't say he pioneer species, he didn't say primary succession, but he brought you examples of it. Okay, A, forest climax community, B, disrupted grass field, C, coral reefs, D, newly formed volcanoes. Yes, of course, it is newly formed volcanoes. Yes, exactly, exactly, because it is a place that was not inhabited before the volcano vanished everything. Yes, exactly. So the correct answer is D. And if we extend the explanation, I'm going to say again the definition of the primary succession, which is the development of an ecosystem in an area that was not inhabited before. After the volcano, okay, the volcanic will take everything. So it will be considered, okay, a pair place or a newly exposed area that need a pioneer species to come and invade this place. Yeah. And as I mentioned, this is the primary succession might begin on a cooled lava, which is our example here, by the way, after volcanic eruptions, or might begin on a bare rock or exposed rock. Okay. Yes. When a glacier melts. Question number 29, the condition of the atmosphere at a specific place and time. It is very, very easy. A, weather, B, climate, C, latitude, D, longitude. This is the exact definition of the weather. It said at a specific place at a particular time. This is the exact definition of weather. Yeah. Question number 30, distance of a point on the surface of the earth north or south of the equator, north or south. Okay. And he said A, weather, B, climate, C, latitude, D, longitude. Yes, of course, it is the latitude, not longitude, latitude. And what is the latitude and longitude? Let's make a comparison between them. Latitude is the measurement of distance north or south of equator. It's measured within 100 imaginary lines that form circles around the earth. Okay, this is east to west, parallel to the equator, such like here. Here is the equator, yes, that dividing the planet Earth. Then we have lines up and we have down. Those are the latitudes. Yeah. So the elevation away from the equator or down from the equator. The longitude is the measurement east or west, okay, of the prime meridian. The longitude is measured by also imaginary lines that run around the earth vertically up and down, such like here. Yes, here is the Greenwich. Sorry for this, okay, mal drawing. And here it is a rough drawing. So those are the longitude to what? To the right and to the left from the, yes, the prime meridian. Okay, of course they are meeting on the north and the south pole. Yeah. Question number 31. Which biome is treeless with permanently frozen soil under the surface? It's called the permafrost. Yes, this is the one that we mentioned even before. This is the tundra. It is tundra. Okay. Permanently frozen. How come the frozen be in the desert? Of course, it's the tundra biome. Let's go through the 6 major biomes. We have 6 major biomes, and we have microbiomes, by the way, and we have subbiomes. So the tropical rainforest, warm temperatures, okay, throughout the year, large amount of rainfall throughout the year as well. Yeah, most of the biodiversity is there as well. We have the grassland. Grassland, an area with the main plant life is the grasses, and there is the tropical grassland, which is here's around the equator. There's the tropical rainforest. Above it, there is the tropical grassland, and in the temperate, we have another temperate grassland region. Okay. Desert, it came in one of the questions as well. I think it will come in a couple of minutes or seconds. Is very dry and gets very little rain. The temperate forests, okay, this biome has very different summer and winter season. Okay, it has deciduous, okay, temperate, and it has coniferous temperate as well. Then we have the taiga biome. Taiga means the Russian, okay, forests. It's located in the cooler climates, and the winter there are long and cold, and the summers are short. Then we're gonna go to our point here, the tundra, located north to the taiga, up to the taiga, to the north, has the coldest, yes, has the longest winters. Okay, that may be about 10 months and even more. They are a treeless biome with permanently frozen soil under the surface. He just cut this and pasted in the question. Yeah. Question number 32. What is the name of the biome that is most common in Saudi Arabia? A, boreal forest. B, temperate forest. C, desert. D, savanna. Of course, it is the C, which is desert. And same, boreal forest found in the northern coniferous forest, which is the band of dense evergreen forest. Temperate grassland, okay. It is a grassland with many animals such as prairie dogs, okay, that are live there under the ground, okay. They are in the warmer, in the yes, in the moderate places. We have then the desert, which is in which it's very dry and gets very little amount of rain. Yes, the tropical grassland, or it's named as savanna. Savanna is tropical grassland. Okay, so they are grassland, but they are in the, yes, tropical region. Tropical grassland in which the hoofed animals, such like gazelles, zebras, are most common there. Question number 33. Which biome contains most biological diversity? I mentioned this when I was illustrating. Yes, of course, it is the tropical rainforest. Perfect. It is the tropical rainforest. Perfect. Yeah, warm temperatures, large amounts of rainfall throughout the year, and the most biodiversity. Question number 34. The iced mountain make up what of the fresh water? 50, 69, 30, 0.3%. You have to know this. Yes, exactly. The iced mountains makes up, yeah, exactly, 69. Now it makes 69. Yeah, it is a fact. You have to know it. Yes. Question number 35. Which of these areas have the largest population of planktons? Planktons are tiny living organisms, free-floating living organisms, and they might be, okay, photosynthizing, so they will be known as photosynthetic or phytoplankton, and others are animal-like, so they are they called zooplankton. So A, in the neuritic zone or light zone, B, dark zone, C, intertidal or the beach, D, abyssal zone. Yes, of course, plankton thriving in the neuritic zone. Yes, what is the neuritic zone? If we talk about it a little bit and extend it, I mentioned even before that the ocean can be divided into zones according to many things. One of the oldest things was being divided it according to the distance from the seashore into beach or the intertidal and pelagic or open water. Another classification was according to the penetration of the light and classifying it into photic and aphotic. Photic is the region at which the light will penetrate the water, and aphotic, the light cannot go to that part because it is too deep. Now we are using the modern classification in which we depending on, or we classifying and dividing the oceanic zone based on the distance from the shore. This is number one, and the water depth. And based on this, we are classifying them and dividing them into four major oceanic zones. Number one, we have the intertidal zone. Intertidal zone. Okay. Yeah, from exact the seashore to 20 meters. Okay. It is the shoreline area between the high and low tide. When you are moving, walking on the beach, you are moving in the intertidal zone. Yes, it's contained the tidal pool, sure. Then Neritic zone from 20 to 200 meters. Okay, the next closest area to the seashore or to the shore, this zone may be very shallow, okay, in some places, and even up to 200 meters in other places, okay. Even it's only about 1/10 of all of the oceanic, okay, zones, but the greatest biodiversity and the greatest biomass is in the Neritic zone. Then from 200 to 2,000 meter deep is the bathyal zone, extend from the edge of the Neritic zone to the, yes, ocean bottom. This zone ranged about 200 to 2,000 meters deep. After the 2,000, okay, we have the abyssal zone. It is the deepest zone. No sunlight reaching there, so the photosynthetic organisms will not be able to live there. Instead, chemosynthetic organisms, okay, form the base of the food chain and food web. Chemosynthesis, they are living organisms, they are producers, they are chemoautotrophs that make use of the inorganic chemical substance to make their own food by themselves. Okay, in a place there is no light can reach there as well, so they do not depend on the light making their own food. Question number 36. Which of these zones are the coldest for lakes? The coldest for lakes. A, littoral zone, which is prey zone. B, light zone. Benthic zone, or the bottom. Limnetic zone, or the surface. By the way, between brackets, this is the definition that came in the Tahsil exam, which is maltranslation, by the way, but the word before the scientific name. Okay, so now he is talking about not the oceanic zone, but the freshwater zone. Yeah, we can also, yes, we can divide the ponds and lakes, okay, into also zones, but not for three. First of all, what is the answer here? The coldest is the bottom. The coldest is the bottom, which is scientifically known as benthic zone. What is this? Let's extend our explanation a little bit. Yeah, as we are classifying and dividing the ocean, we can also divide and categorize the fresh water into littoral zone. Here, the littoral zone. Okay, it is along the shoreline between the high and low. Okay, marks where rooted plants, okay, can grow, and also snails. Gonna find here snails, water lilies, okay, and other organisms can live here. Then we have the limnetic or pelagic or open water. Yes, open water farther out from the shore. Larger amounts of planktons can live there and are considered, yes, food for a lot of populations of fish. But the bottom is the benthic zone. It is the lake or pond bottom where the sunlight reaches, and the bacteria and other decomposer live in the mud and sand in the benthic zone. What is the function of them? They are decomposing the organic dead matter, and they are providing a lot of nutrients. When the lake makes a process known as turnover, so those nutrients will be move up to be available for the photosynthetic organisms that live closer to the surface, which is very important as well. Question number 37. An example of changeable aquatic ecosystem. A, streams. B, ponds. C, estuaries. D, oceans. That is the exact definition of the estuaries. Perfect. It is estuaries. If I extend the explanation, I'm going to say that, yeah, estuary are areas where river flows into an ocean, and they have a high biodiversity. They are the nurseries of the oceans, okay? They have a lot of characteristics. They have fresh water from the river that mix with the salt water from the ocean there in the estuary environment. Okay, they are very rich in nutrients that wash in okay, from the land throughout the way of the river or the journey of the river. They have the greatest biodiversity there. They migrate in bed using them as stops along their migration path. They can stay there, they can lay their eggs, they can raise their youngs. Okay, estuaries, they are a safe refugee, if we can say, for them. Estuaries provide a protected area where many different species, yes, laying their eggs and raising their young. Question number 38. Estuaries are A, changeable, B, tropical, C, fresh, D, salty. They are, yes, exactly, they are changeable, as we just mentioned in the previous definition. They are the area where river flows into the ocean, yes, and it has the highest biodiversity. Question number 39. Which of the tide zone is mostly dry? Mostly dry. It is A, spray zone, B, high tide zone, C, low tide zone, D, medium tide zone. The correct answer, of course, is the A, spray zone. Let's talk about all of them in details. Yeah, here we have the spray zone. Here is the spray zone. Actually, perhaps a part of the land than the ocean. Why? Because it is submerged only when there is a very high tide or severe storms. Okay, but repeatedly wetted by just splashing waves and wind-blown spray. That's why it's known spray zone. Then we have the high intertidal zone only. Yeah, it's flooded during the peaks of the ocean. Okay, maybe once or twice daily. Okay, when there is a high tides and out of water. Okay, along the stretches. Yeah, can be in between here and there. The mid-intertidal generally submerged except for a fairly short period. Okay, during which the turn of the low tide. Yeah. Then we have the low intertidal zone, exposed only, okay, when the lowest spring tide, but mostly it is, okay, submerged by water, okay. Only two came in exam, by the way. Yeah, the low intertidal here and the spray zone. It will come in the question couple of seconds. Yeah, question number 40, as I just mentioned, which of the tide zone have the highest number of living organisms? It's submerged by the water, so most likely has the highest number of living organisms. And A, spray zone, B, high tide zone, C, medium tide zone, D, low tide zone. Yes, it is exactly, the low tide zone. Perfect. Question number 41. Which of the ocean zone contain both light and dark areas? A, neritic, B, deep zone, C, abyssal zone, D, bottom zone. And why? Yes, what and why? Of course, the correct answer is the neritic. What is the reason then? Yeah, here is the neritic zone. Yes, it is 1/10, yes, in the space, but it is the highest biomass will be here. Yes, water zone that contain both dark and light areas is the neritic. Okay, abyssal zone here, it is the deepest region of the ocean, which is dark and very cold water. And then we have the bottom of the water, and we're still, by the way, looking for and exploring the deep of the oceans yet. Yeah. And if there is a phytoplankton, by the way, living there, okay, they will block light, so underneath it will be dark areas, so they might be, say, the dark areas. And we can find this in the neritic zone when there is an algal bloom or eutrophication. Yeah. Question number 42. The largest area of the ocean, the largest. A, light area, B, dark area, C, abyssal zone, D, bottom zone. We're still discovering it, by the way. The correct answer here is D, the bottom zone. Perfect. It is the bottom zone. Yes, as I just mentioned. Yeah. Yeah, we just say from 200 to 2000 bathyal, and after this is abyssal from 2000, okay, deeper, mostly till 4000. And there is below, by the way, but it's not in our curriculum. All of those are much deeper, and we're still looking even deeper, but it's not in our curriculum. Okay, so we have the again, the four regions are the intertidal, then we have the Noritic, then we have the bathyal, or it has murky water, then we have the abyssal zone from 2000 and deep. This is the bottom. They are saying it is the bottom in our curriculum, but scientifically we have still layers down. We still have down. It's an advanced one. Okay. Question number 43. Which of the population characteristics shows the relation of living thing per area? That's good. A, population density. B, population dispersion. C, area of population. D, population level. Yes, exactly. This is the population density. It is the definition of the population density, which is a measurement of the number of individual living things in a defined space. So it's been calculated by dividing number of individuals, okay, divided by the area in square units. Question 44, the way of distribution the way of disturbing biotic population in a certain area. Yes. So what is the way by which the biotic population distributing in a specific area? This is the exact definition of A, population dispersion, B, population density, C, growth rate, D, population level. Yes, exactly. This is the definition of the population dispersion. Yes, the population dispersion is the way in which the individuals, okay, are dispersed. Okay, it may be clumped, they are in groups, such like fish. Mostly they are living groups, and they give them, okay, a very important advantages for foraging for food and even avoiding the predators for protection. Okay, and we have uniform dispersion, in which it's very, very famous and found in the birds, in which there are we can say fixed or evenly spaces or distances between the members of the species here, or the population. Okay. So this example is known as uniform dispersion, same as each one of them has a territory that no one can come closer to it. Then we have the random dispersion, and in this case, almost there is no competitors for them. So there's no button for the dispersion. So it's named random dispersion, such like the three-toed sloth. They have random dispersion. Individuals are spread randomly in the area. Question number 45. What distribution patterns does a flock of animals live in? Flock, he said, flock of animals. Yes. So he gave you the clue to answer. A, uniform. B, agglomeration. This one that came in the exam, but it is descriptive, by the way, and it's never found in scientific books. It is clumped. Okay. C, random. D, cannot predict. And by the way, this is the one that came in exam. So I brought you the one that came and the scientific word in order to know it. Yes, exactly. It is the clump dispersion. And the explanation is same as one that I did mention before. Here is a clump dispersion in groups, flukes. Yeah, here is the fluke. Yes. Question number 46. Which of the following do not depend on the density? Do not depend on the density. So it is a limiting factor, okay, a density. But here he said, do not depend on the density. So a population limiting factor, and it is not depending on the density of the population. Is it A, intense dryness, B, parasite in the intestine, C, killing virus, D, extreme crowding? Yes, perfect. The correct answer is A, intense dryness, because all of the remaining are, yes, density dependent. Let's extend it. Yeah, 1 second. Here, all of those are density dependent. Why? They depend on the intensity of the density of the population. If the population density increases, of course, they will affect the population growth severely. Imagine that there is a parasite in the intestine and there is a high density of the population. It will be spread, okay, throughout them. Okay, if you have a killing virus and they are crowded and the density of the population is very high, so most likely to spread very fast and limiting their population growth. Extreme crowding, yes, when they are very crowded, they will compete on the resources and the diseases will be spread in them very, very fast. Yes, exactly. While intense dryness, okay, such like also the tornado, the hurricane, the human development, the earthquakes, all of those are considered density independent. Okay, so this is the correct answer here. If we extend it again, I just mentioned we have two factors. We can divide them into density dependent limiting factor that depend on the density of the population, such like competition. If they are more, they will compete more, affecting their population growth. Okay, predation. If there are predators and they are more, it will affect their numbers and their population growth. Parasitism as well. If there is a parasite and the population size is large, of course, they will affect the number. It will be decreased. Okay, and we have density independent limiting factors, and it is affecting the population no matter the density of the individuals, has no relation to the density, such like unusual weather, for example, such like natural disaster, as I mentioned, volcano, hurricane, tornado. It will affect them regardless of their density. And any human activities, okay, such like the infrastructure that we are destructing the habitats in order to do it, such like the pollution that we interfere in it, okay, introduced species, okay, all of those are human activities that has no relation to the density of the population. I extended the explanation here. Question number 47. Factors that depend on the density and affect biome. A, world war. B, viruses. C, dryness. D, floods. Yeah, he say depend on the density. Of course, the correct answer is yes, B, viruses. And explanation, same as we just mentioned, by the way. And all of them here, I just mentioned the density dependent, such like competition, predation, and parasitism. Question number 48. The term that describe people leaving the group, exiting the group. This is the A, death rate, B, birth rate, C, immigration with I, D, immigration with E. Yes, of course, the correct answer here is the immigration, D. And in order to make it a little bit, okay, advance or extend our explanation, just in case the question changed, mostly those from Abdul Karim, they came copy and paste, as you know, but just to let you aware enough about all of the information here. Yes, as you know, we have four factors that affect the population size. Immigration with I means the movement of individuals into, with I into, in order not to mix it up, I into. Okay, opposite is immigration, exit. Okay, out of, exit or out of. Of course, immigrant will cause increase in the population size. Birth, okay, birth and immigration, both of them increases the individuals of population. Immigrants with E is the movement out of individuals from a population. When immigrants increases in a population, its size will be decreased. Okay, and death rates, when the death rate increases, the population size will be decreased. And immigration and death, they decreases the population size, while immigration and birth increases the population size. Question number 49. Term that describe people entering the group. Entering the group. Yes, exactly. The correct answer here is yes, for sure. Immigration. Yes, C, immigration. And the same thing that I just mentioned for the explanation. Question number 50. When the death rate equals the birth rate, it's said to be A, zero population growth, B, birth rate, C, immigration, D, immigration. Yeah, this is called ZPG, zero population growth. And it's also called level of replacement level of fertility. Yes, for sure. Your answer is correct, and it is A. I actually answered the question. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is a condition of the demographic balance where the number of people in a specified population, okay, neither growth, yes, no decline, not growth, not decline. Birth rate equal to death rate. So it is not growing. ZBG or zero population growth. Question number 51. The change in population from high birth and death rate to low birth and death rate. This is known as, yes, A, zero population growth, B, birth rate, C, demographic transition, D, death rate. The correct answer is C, which is demographic transition, such like what is happening now in Japan, for example, and in some of the European countries. Yeah, demographic transition refers to the shift from a high birth and high infant death to low birth, but also low death rate. Okay, it is a change in a population, yeah, from high birth and death rate to low birth and death rate. This is the exact definition, by the way. Question number 52. What occurs when the growth rate is proportional to the size of population? A, exponential growth, B, geometrical growth, C, logistic growth, D, linear growth. So it seems here that there is no, there is no limited resources. There is abundant resources. There is no nothing called linear growth. It is exponential growth. Exponential growth. Yeah. So the population grows based on available resources. Yes. As long as the resources are unlimited or plentiful, so will be exponentially growing. When reaching the carrying capacity, which is the maximum level that the environment can support, okay, the organisms or the population, above this, the population size will be level off, will be plateaued, will be stopped, will be level off. Why? Because of the limited resources. This is called logistic growth. Start very small, then there is exponential growth till reaching the carrying capacity, then it will be plateaued. This is the logistic growth. It will come in two questions after this. Yeah, here, for example, question number 53. The letter C in the graph represents A, carrying capacity, B, lag phase, C, exponential growth, D, increasing, okay, growth. What is the proper correct answer here? Here the answer is very obvious. It is carrying capacity, which is A. As I told you, when it reaches the carrying capacity, there is no more exponentially growth. It will be level off, it will be plateaued, remain constant. Yeah, because of the, yes, reaching the carrying capacity. There is no more resource in the environment that can support any more individuals. They reach the maximum. Yeah, this is the exact definition of the carrying capacity. Yeah, the carrying capacity of an environment is the maximum number, yeah, of individuals of a particular species that the environment can support, above which, no, it will be plateaued, will be remaining constant. Yes. Question number 54, same. Which type of population growth does the graph shown represent? A, exponential growth, B, lag phase, C, logistic growth, D, linear. Yes, for sure. It is the carrying capacity. Yes. And yeah. But here there's no carrying capacity. But this way of growth, when reaching the carrying capacity, will plateaued or stopped or remain constant, is known as logistic growth, which is C. Yes, we have to be smart. Yeah, logistic growth begins with a period of slow growth here, slow growth here, slow. It's called lag phase. Then we have log phase or logistic growth, exponentially growing till reaching the carrying capacity. Lag means slow. Lag means slow. Log means a exponential. Then there is a stationary, if you can say. Stationary, they you can say plateaued, you can say remain constant, you can say level of, all of them are the same. Question number 55. Organisms that reproduce according to rate strategy. A, elephant. B, mouse. C, lion. D, goat. They actually do not take care of their youngs. So it is the, B, mouse. Yes. They are small organisms, spend no energy in raising their youngs. Okay. They produce many offsprings, such like very small invertebrates, locusts, and very small vertebrates, such like mouse. Question number 56. Organisms that reproduce by rate strategy. Okay. A, produce few offsprings. B, take care of young. C, do not take care of young. D, have long life. Yes, we just mentioned this in the previous illustration. It is C, perfect, which do not care of their young, and the same explanation. This is the same explanation. Perfect. Question number 57. Organisms that reproduce by carrying capacity strategy, K strategies. A, mouse. B, elephants. C, locust. D, dry fly. Of course, they are larger organisms. They produce few offsprings. They invest time and effort to take care of their young. And one of the most examples here is elephant. Yes, perfect. Yeah, as I mentioned, elephant. Long, few organisms take care of their young and invest time and effort. 58. The study of human population size density distribution is A, demography. B, geology. C, geography. D, natural science. This is the exact definition of the, yes, demography. This is the definition of demography. Yes, you have to know this. Question number 59. Now we move to the biodiversity. It's not that big, but it is part of the exam because there's one chapter that is known as biodiversity, but not a lot of questions in it. So question number 59. The multiple forms of the ladybug in the next figure represent A, ecosystem diversity, genetic diversity, variety of species. D, biodiversity. Yes, of course, it is genetic diversity. Yeah, all of them are the same, but they have different genetic makeup. Genetic diversity is the proper answer here. Yes, let's make a differentiation between all of them. Biodiversity is all the variety of life that can be found on Earth, and it includes, yes, or there is a genetic diversity that play a role in the biodiversity. Yeah, as shown here, yes, in this picture that came in exam of ladybird. They have different genetic makeup, so they have genetic diversity. They are biodiverse because of the genetic. We have variety of species in which the number of the different species and the percentage of each species that are acting, that are having an impact in the vital community. We have a variety of species that can cause biodiversity. Ecosystem diversity, diversity because or variation in environment, okay, or because of the environmental regulation or in response to the environment. There is diversity, there is biodiversity, but because of the interaction with the environment. Yes, those are the most important. Here, due to the environment, here is due to the genetic, okay, makeup. Question number 59. Yeah, this is the same question I think I was answering. Yeah, no different. The number of different types of living organisms or living creatures and the proportions of each species in the vital society is called A, genetic diversity, B, diversity of species, C, ecosystem diversity, D, life diversity. Yes, of course, this is the exact definition, as I just mentioned, of the variety of species. Yes, perfect. The number of different species. Literally, it is the definition of the variety of species. Question number 60. What term describes the symbols, forest, freshwater lake, river mouth, grassland? Is this an ecosystem diversity? B, extinction. C, genetic diversity. D, variety of species. Yes, this is a diversity, but because of the ecosystem. Perfect. Yes, exactly. Yeah, all of this variation in environment, okay, regulation in the, yes, atmosphere, or because of the environment, driven by the environment. Question number 61. What constitutes the direct economic value of biodiversity? Economic value. A, flood protection. B, decomposition of waste. C, food. D, detoxification. We have direct and indirect economic value, by the way, but let me explain it furthermore. Actually, the correct answer is food. Yes, food is direct economic value, something that we are using directly. We are using it directly. Yeah, anything from the environment that we are using directly, affecting our life, okay, it is causing or it is considered direct economic value to us. And food is detoxification, decomposition of waste, the flood protection, protection against the deforestation, all of them affecting us, but indirectly. Maybe something happened in another country, in Somalia, for example, and affecting us here, but it is not direct. It is affecting us, but do not have to us direct economic value. Yeah, so here, yeah, direct mean we are using it in every living organism, okay, and it is very important, okay, for our sustainability and nourishment, okay, such like what? Such like, as I mentioned, the food, the shelter, okay, so those are known as direct economic value. Human depends on, yes, the plants, the animals, in food, clothing, energy, and treatment. Those are the major, okay, domains of the direct economic value. We have indirect economic value, such like flood protection, fighting against the drought, providing us with, yes, safe, or providing us with safe drinking water. They are affecting us, but not instant, not directly. Question number 62. What constitutes the indirect, yes, here, indirect economic value of biodiversity? A, food. B, flood protection. C, cloth. D, medication. All of them are direct except one. Exactly, which is flood protection. It is affecting us, but non-directly. Yeah, and the same exact definition, by the way, and explanations. Question number 63. An event in which a high percentage of species are endangered in a very short period of time. Very short period of time. A, gradual extinction. B, collective extinction. C, exploitation. D, habitat loss. It's here called collective or mass. Okay, it's called mass as well. Mass extinction or major extinction. Collective rarely used in the scientific textbooks, but it is the answer here. And we have gradual extinction, which is extinction of species over a period of time, which is gradually. And we have collective, or scientific name is mass or major. Yes, an event in which a high percentage of species are endangered in a very short period of time, such like what happened to dinosaurs in the Jurassic period. Yes, scientists estimated the speed of the mass extinction or collective about 1,000 times more than the normal or the gradual extinction. Exploitation, because it will come in a question. Every single point here will come in a question that I put it in bold. It is excessive use of species with an economic value, increasing the speed of their extinction, of course. Question number 64. How many more times does the current gradual extinction compare to the rate of collective? Yes, sure, 1,000 times, as I just mentioned. Same explanation. Question number 65. A term that describes the excessive use of species that have economic value. A, exploitation. B, extinction. C, pollution. D, variety. I just mentioned the explanation of it and the definition of it. It is the, yes, the exploitation. Perfect. Question number 66. The separation of the ecosystem into small parts of the earth is called, and it's been done by us actually, which is, it is called fragmentation of habitat. Yes, habitat fragmentation. Yeah. And in order to overcome it, we're making a habitat corridors. Yeah. They are considered barriers of a habitat into that splitted it into fragment or pieces, causing a habitat fragmentation. Such like a road that passing by a camel, with, let's say, a grazing area. Okay, so by doing this, we are fragmenting their habitats. But here we are making a corridor, a habitat corridor, such like a camel cross road. Yes. Question number 67. Which of the following removes calcium, potassium, and nutrients from the soil? Yeah, water irrigation, B, acid rain, C, transpiration, D, fertilizers. The correct answer here is the acid rain. Acid rain. It is actually a little bit detailed, but we do not have that to the limit. Okay, I will illustrate this. The acid rain is a type of rain produced when pollutants in the water cycle cause the pH to drop significantly below normal. The normal rain is slightly okay, acidic, pH 5.6. But when it's been dropped below this to 4.6, for example, it has more hydrogen ions, so it is more acidic. Okay, and acid rains produced when pollutants in the water cycle cause the pH, as I mentioned, to be dropped, and it's bleaching and dissolving and corroding the landmarks and the infrastructure. It has a very, very strong catastrophic consequences. Question number 68. Non-native species move to new environmental habitats internationally or yes, inadvertently. Yes, exactly. This is A, local species, B, introduced species, C, extinct species, D, yes, endemic species. Exactly, the correct answer here is the introduced species. Yeah, introduced species, any organism that was brought into an ecosystem as a result of our human actions. Same as what happened in Australia when a person, I forgot its name now, in 18, I think, 90 something, he found himself bored, so he wanted to hunt something. He brought from Europe 24 rabbit and they spread them in the wild. Then those now, after every single thing to kill them, they are more than all of the human beings in the universe, in the world. Okay, they are 10 billion. Imagine. Okay, it is introduced species. It has no natural predators there. Okay, yeah. So introduced species can prey on the native ones. Okay, number one. Yes, this can cause the native species to be eliminated. Such what happened to the brown squirrel in Europe when the American introduced the gray squirrel from USA into, or from America generally, to Europe. Yes, they may have no natural predator. They may have better competitors to the native species. All of those are examples, but I just need you to know the concept of introduced species. Question number 69. Which of the following resources are renewable in nature? A, fossil fuel, B, metal, C, solar power, D, radioactive uranium. Of course, solar power. And let's take it a little bit advanced and make a differentiation between non-renewable and renewable or sustainable. Renewable, we use them, okay, much faster they form. Oil, fossil fuel, coal, and such. Those renewable resources, ones that cannot be used up or can be replaced as fast as they used up. Okay, yeah, such like the wind, such like the solar energy. Okay, they cannot be used up. Okay, and other such like wood can be renewable if we sustain them or regrow them as quickly as we are using them. Yes, exactly. Question number 70. We are very close. I'm so sorry taking you behind a couple of minutes, but it is very important to finish the topic today. And I'm excusing for making the video a little bit long. So question number 70. Which of the following resources are renewable in nature? A, biodiversity, B, biologics, C, sustainable, D, exploitation. Yes, exactly. It is sustainable, as I just mentioned, and exact same illustration. Okay. Question number 71. Which of the following terms is a result of the biodiversity reclamation or the biodiversity reclamation area contaminated or damaged? An area that was damaged, we are reclaiming it. Okay, what will happen there? Yes. Yes, what will happen there? Increasing this vitality, renewable resources, C, biological pathway, D, sustainable use. Of course, this will have, yeah, of course, they will increase their vitality and their fertility, by the way. So the correct answer here is A. Perfect. Biological treatment is the use of living creatures, such like bioremediation, to remove toxins from contaminated area in order to reclaim it, okay, to return back its fertility and to increase its vitality. Question number 72. We have just a couple of questions on the animal behavior. Animal behavior is very, very easy, okay? Question number 72. A behavior that depends on genetics. We can say it is innate. So we can say it is by birth or born behavior. A, procedural, B, instinctive, C, acquired, D, printed. For sure, the answer is B, instinctive. Yeah, it's not learned, not acquired. Yeah. And if we are proceeding it, behavior generally is the way the animal respond to something, okay? And we have instinctive behaviors or innate behavior or born behavior. This is the explanation of it. These behaviors are especially important in the newborn who have had no time to learn how to act. It's play very important survival, okay, or adding survival value. It is innate, it is by birth. It is performed correctly the first time the animal tries it, okay? And inflexible behavior is performed roughly the same way each time, okay? So it is a stable pattern behavior, okay? It is extended information. Question number 73. The walking of the small ducks behind the mother is behavior. Is what behavior? A, instinctive, B, ethical, C, acquired, D, classical. It is, of course, it is by birth. It is instinctive. No one, learned them. It is not acquired. And the same explanation that I just mentioned. Question number 74. Cats not escaping when children approach them is an example of. It is a type of A, familiarity, B, fixed performance pattern, C, classical conditional learning, D, procedural learning. Yes, this is considered, yes, a type of familiarity. Yeah. Question number 75. Learning that happens when you connect two different types of stimuli, connecting two different stimuli. Familiarity, B, procedural learning, C, classical conditional learning, D, cognition. Cognition. Yeah, it is. Such like the Ivan Pavlov experiment is known as classical conditional learning. Yes. And it is very, very important. It is one of the acquired or learned behavior. Actually, the acquired behavior resulting from interaction between the instinctive or the by birth or born behaviors and previous experience. And there are a lot, such like habitation, conditional learning, printed behavior, cognitive, conflict, hierarchy, migratory, courting, nourishing, altruistic. All of them came in the exam, by the way, and each one of them come one or two times, which are the remaining questions. Very brief. Habitation decreases the animal response to something that has no positive or no negative effect. For example, birds return, okay, to panic when you change the place of the screech crow, okay, or the shadow man. But when you leave it in the same place, they will get used to it. So no positive or negative effect. So they will come and eat and stand even on its head. Conditional classical learning or classical conditional, which is the experiment that done by the Russian scientist Ivan Pavlov, that he have a bell, then he is using the bell in order to make a sound, then introduce the food to the dog. So the sound link between two different types of stimuli, the sound of the bell and introduction of food. So when after a long period of time, in order to allow this linkage to happen, he is just ringing the bell, just is enough. This is enough for the salivation of the dog to increase, to secrete the saliva, because he is now expected that the food will be given to it. This is very brief, the classical conditional learning. When there is two different types of stimuli are being linked, okay, such like, yes, dog hooking between the sound of the bell, and the presence of food. Yeah, the Ivan Pavlov experiment. Procedural learning or learning by experience. The animal connects in its response to something with a positive or negative outcome to it. For example, they tying the bear between the eating of the butterfly and the anglic disease, so he will avoid it. It came in the SAT exam before. This type is known as, of behavior, is known as procedural or learning by experience. We have printed behavior is a learning process that occurs only during a very short period of time of the animal's life. Scientifically is known as the critical period, but in the SAAT he used descriptive word, is not properly and scientifically used, which is sensitive. It is immediately after birth, so the animal learns skills such as how to identify its parents and its siblings as well. Bird heron has a very strong social link with the first body after seeing hatching. Even as a man, he will consider that this man is mother, for example. He link it to this. Why? Because this happened during the critical period. It is a printed behavior. Immigration. Animals learn by observing the behavior of other animals. Imitation. Parrot, for example. Cognitive, very important, came in about 3 questions in the exam, include thinking, reasoning, and problem solving. So, for example, when they, some of the aquatic birds that are feeding on the fleshy substance, the fleshy mollusks that are found inside the snail, so they are taking the snail and rise up and fall it down on the rock in order to break it and eat what is inside. So this behavior is cognitive. Why? It has a higher thinking, problem solving, and reasoning, such like the crow when it's opened the egg in order to eat what is inside, such like the chimpanzee when it's cracked the coconut in order to drink what is inside. All of those came in exam, and they are cognitive behaviors. Yes, now you are very aware enough to answer all of the remaining questions, so we're going to go through them fast. Question number 76, linking the bird to the eater eating the royal butterfly and the disease is an example of A, familiarity, B, procedural learning, C, printed behavior, D, cognition. Yes, perfect. Procedural learning, perfect. And now you know what the meaning of that. I will not go through it. I just mentioned this. Question number 77. The baby touching something hot, then learning not to touch it again. It's an example of A, cognition, B, procedural learning, classical conditional learning, D, familiarity. Same thing, procedural learning. Yes, learning by mistakes or experience, if we can say. Question number 78. In what period does the printed behavior of the animal consist? A, incubation period, B, sensitive period, C, period of perception, D, learning period. By the way, the name of it you will not found in the textbooks, but it came here as a sensitive, which is the critical in the scientific textbooks. Yes, exactly. Critical, yeah. But here he used sensitive, so watch out in order not to not to mix it up. Question number 79. The use of chimpanzees as stone to break and open the fruits, an example of fixed performance pattern, B, printed behavior, C, cognitive behavior, D, conditional learning. I told you it used their mind, so it is cognitive behavior. Perfect. Include thinking, reasoning, problem solving. Yes, perfect. 80. Crow breaks eggs for feeding. This behavior, he opens the egg and knows that there is food inside. So A, cognitive, B, conditional, C, instinctive, D, innate. Yeah, it is cognitive. Yes, of course. It came a lot in the exam. Behavior leads to fighting relationships between two individuals of the same kind. Yeah, in between them, there will be a relation, there will be a behavior. This behavior is known as exactly the conflict. Yes, conflict behavior. Perfect. Question number 82. What behavior does one chicken control over others? Same as the pigeon, the leading the rest of the herd. So what is the meaning of it? This is known as A, conflict, B, immigration, C, nursery, and D, hierarchy. It is D, hierarchy. Yes, exactly. You are right. Question number 83. Which behavior shows seasonal movement of an animals to new locations? A, migratory behaviors, B, cognitive behaviors, C, dominance hierarchies, D, imprinting. For sure, this is migratory. Very, very obvious. Yes. Question number 84. Which behavior shows seasonal movement of animals to new locations? It is the same, migratory behaviors. Yes, for sure. Came 2 times now. Yeah, we have just about 5 questions. Okay, let's go through them fast. 84. Yeah, this I just answered. Migratory behaviors. Question number 85. What's not true about pheromones? Pheromones, yeah, let's introduce the question first and find out. A, predators can detect them, used in reproduction. C, they are chemicals. D, used in communication. They are all of them except, yes, they, for sure, predators cannot detect them. They are chemicals used in reproduction, used for communication, to tell the other partner that the other partner is found in this location. But of course, it cannot be intersected by the predators. Yes. Question number 86. During your visit to the zoo, you saw a peacock with the male, the peafowl, exposing its train, the feather tail, into to impose the females. This behavior is A, altruistic, B, competitive, C, courting, D, communication. Yes, for sure. It is courting. It is courting for having a courtship to attract the mate. Okay, prior to the courtship. Yes, it is the courting behavior. Question number 87. Guaranteeing a higher chance of offspring survival is an example of what behavior? A behavior that ensure a high chance of offspring survival. A, agonistic. B, migratory. C, nurturing. D, courting. Of course, it is nurturing. Yes, perfect. Yes, parents provide care to their offsprings, increasing the chance of their survival. Question number 88. Altruistic behavior is an example of what behaviors? I think this is the last behavior that we have. A, courting. B, cooperative. C, migratory. D, nurturing. The correct answer here is yes, of course. It is an example of the cooperative, in which one organism is sacrificing or self-sacrificing itself for the other. Yes, cooperative behaviors such like the altruistic behaviors. Okay, they are self-sacrificing behaviors. Such what happened in the beehive, for example. Question number 89. Behavior in which an animal benefits another at a cost of itself, so it sacrifices them. A, altruistic. B, migratory. C, nurturing. D, courting. It is altruistic. It is very, very obvious. Animal benefits another on a cost of itself, such like workers in the beehives that I just mentioned. Yeah, perform altruistic behavior, collecting nectar, okay, caring of the queen, and even the offsprings. Yeah, this is the same thing. Question number 90, very close. Behavior in bees called A, altruistic. B, competitive. B, migratory. D, nurturing. Yes, of course, it is altruistic. Yes, perfect. Yes, and this is the definition, exact same definition that we just mentioned. Okay, last question. Which resembles the greatest population or quantity in beehives members? Yes, A, female workers. B, queens. C, males. D, wasps. Of course, the female workers. Yes, perfect, perfect. And thank you for keeping you with me today. I wish all of you got benefit of it. If you still have any questions, okay, of course, there is no time to ask. I'm so sorry taking your time, okay, but I'm keen to give you all of the TAJMEE3AT questions, which are 19 times of the weighted for exams. They are about 550 questions, okay. Thank you for having you today. Wish you all the best, okay. There are males, there are drones, man, that are grown up by parthenogenesis, by the way. okay, which is the process in which they, when the egg lay eggs, if they are not fertilized, they will grow by parthenogenesis that we took it last period, okay, into male drones. Yes, exactly. And we have females that will be fertilized, but they will not be, okay, the queen. And the queen, this is the one that fertilized and of course feed on the royal honey. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? You are most welcome, Mehdi. Have a nice day. See you inshallah tomorrow. Till then, stay safe and stay blessed. Have a nice day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Fi aman Allah.